everybody. Steve Politi from NJ Advanced Media, and welcome back to the They Almost Beat Indiana podcast. I'm joined, as always, by James Cratch and Keith Sargent. So this is my thing, guys, about this week. I left the stadium thinking, all right, that was certainly better, of course, better than losing by 41 to Kansas or getting your ass kicked at home against Buffalo. They play better. They showed some signs, all that good stuff. I woke up the next morning thinking, my God, that's Indiana. I mean, like we can't judge effort against Indiana, can we? Have we really reached that point at the second worst program in the Big Ten, essentially? I mean, is this where we're at? I mean, where are you closer to how I woke up or closer to how I left the stadium when you look at this game now?
Yeah, it's hard to forget about the big picture of this program overall, right? Because I mean, we talked about it at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, is the map to success is to win your non-conference games, which they clearly haven't, and right. to beat Maryland and Indiana. Everyone, you've given up on the notion of being able to compete with Michigan or Penn State or the top teams in the Big Ten East. But in order to have success, in order to go to a bowl game, you have to beat Indiana, you have to beat Maryland. And, right. It's not about competing or playing within a touchdown to Indiana. It's about beating Indiana. So you can't forget about the big picture.
Yeah. And I guess it wasn't even, Cratch, when you think about the game, it wasn't even really, I mean, it was competitive, but they were down 24-7 at halftime. There was some coaching malpractice, I thought, by Indiana in the second half. I mean, not kicking that field goal late in the game, just some schematic things, some decision-making that you just wondered, some turnovers. Do you take, is it a moral victory? Do you take something out of this?
I don't think it's a moral victory. I do think that when I was watching the game, I was thinking to myself, Indiana's not very good. And I don't say that to slight Rutgers, and they played a lot better in the second half. Obviously, the first half was basically just a repeat of what happened against Kansas and Buffalo, giving up all the big plays. But for me, I look at this game and I say to myself, you know what? Here's the thing I think is the great tragic, truth of this Rutgers season, is that Rutgers is kind of on par with Indiana, team that is 4-1. And is probably going to a bowl game this year. And Illinois is going to come in this week, kind of the same situation. Maybe Maryland's a step above this year. We'll find out. They've been kind of up and down. But that's what I think is the most painful thing for Rutgers, is that the Big Ten sort of has this soft, second and third tier that Rutgers should be right in the middle of and being competitive with, but because they've dug themselves such a deep hole in the non-conference, they're not going to go anywhere this year.
Right. Indiana, Illinois in that boat. Maryland, I mean, gosh,
Minnesota, Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska's a tire fire.
Right. It is
complete
true.
Tire fire.
Yeah. And of course, this is the 1 year. Or if they had even the team from 3 years ago, who knows what the record would have been. But here we are, right? All right. So what did we like? What did they say today? I mean, at least we saw receivers catch balls. We saw, some progress on defense. I mean, Sarge, is there a positive takeaway that's going to translate the rest of the season here?
Yeah. I mean, I think I guess the biggest positive is Art Sikowski, because the last couple of weeks we've talked in press conferences and we've talked, on this podcast is, what type of glimmer of hope do you see out of the quarterback? And to be honest with you, the last couple of weeks, there haven't been. But, I think the biggest takeaway to me was, the kid is tough. I mean, he kept on, he took a pounding and he kept on getting back up. He played better late in the game than he did early in the game, which is a good sign. I think I think it was a good positive step for him.
Right. He took a pounding, and the offensive coordinator was kind of funny about that today, wasn't he? Cratch, what did he say?
Yeah, John McNulty really, I think, was the textbook example of this is a coach talking to his team, his players through the media.
Right.
He ripped the offensive line. He said the pass protection was horrible. The fact that he said Art got hit 10 times in the game, that was ridiculous. He made this joke about how he told the team that he's going to keep trying to find the plays where they don't have to block anybody. It's just, I mean, John McNulty has kind of been he only talks once a week, and it's like one of the highlights of the Rutgers football beat each week, because he just, you can tell this guy's been in the NFL for 11 years. He just says what he sees and what the situation is. I think it's very clear that they have realized at this point this offensive line is a major issue, because, look, when Art got lit up in the pocket against Ohio State, people say, okay, well, Chase Young, Nick Bosa, best defensive line in the nation, whatever. I mean, it's Indiana. Like, Indiana is not any imposing defensive front, and their defense is okay, and they really just hit Art early and often on Saturday. And McNulty even said, like, the first deep throw, I believe he was referencing to Bo Melton that looked like it was wildly overthrown. He said, if Art doesn't throw the ball, he's going to get killed. So Art really had no choice but just kind of chuck it up and hope that he got enough under it that it would be there for Melton. Obviously, he kind of overthrew it, but what are you going to do when a guy is about to get crushed in the pocket?
Right. It's funny you meant so McNulty. This is the third straight year that they've had a more entertaining offensive coordinator than Chris Ash interviews McNulty, because he says what's on his mind. Jerry Kill for the crotchety, jokes about his health and being an old man, and then Drew Mehringer because you're never sure if he was going to cry or not. So it was like, this is good. This is like really entertaining offense. The offense isn't entertaining, but at least the coordinators are entertaining. Sarge, what do you think overall here? Are we going to see changes on the line now? Are we going to see changes in strategy? What's going on?
I don't think so. Maybe, at left guard, maybe. I mean, you've seen some changes with Lonsdorf and Bretman, and you've seen Crimmin in there. So maybe, but, left tackle, again, and I like the kid, but Tariq Cole, hasn't been great. I mean, we went into the year thinking that he's going to be an all Big Ten caliber type kid, and, he hasn't been great. I thought, and maybe James can speak to this too, I don't know if we really want to break down the offensive line during this entire podcast, but I am curious because Chris Ash did talk about after the game, he thought that the four-man rush protection was good, and then they just had no answers for any types of pressure, any type of blitzes that Indiana threw at them. I think that might have been an issue, and if that's the case, then maybe it speaks to more than just the five-man offensive line. Maybe that speaks to AJ Blazik a little bit, not being able to come up with better adjustments in dealing with some of the blitz pickups, and maybe even speaks to the tight ends and the fullback and the running back trying to chip and keep Arsikowski on his feet.
Yeah. I think that the main issue they're having is that, well, one, they can't run the ball, which I think is a trickle-down effect on everything. On the edges, the pass protection has been a major issue. The two tackles, they're not, Kamal Seymour at right tackle, Tariq Cole left tackle. They're not having terribly good seasons. I think inside, they've gotten Maietti, Jonah Jackson at right guard is having the best season of any offensive lineman they have. I'm not saying that's like an all-conference caliber season, but he's their best offensive lineman. I think, him, Mike Maietti at center, Mike Lonsdorf at left guard, those guys are holding their own, but I think where their real issue comes in is when they try to run the ball up the middle. They're just not getting a push there. I don't know what changes. I will say this. Raekwon O'Neal, the true freshman tackle, he was out with an injury this past week. Tariq Cole was limited during practice the week. He's a guy who I think has been kind of banged up all season long. I am curious that on Saturday, because I thought that was when he really had struggled the most this season. Had Raekwon O'Neal been available, I wonder if they would have made a change there.
I know, to piggyback off that, I've been told flat out that Raekwon O'Neal has a very, very bright future, and that is from people inside the program that they are very, very high on that kid for going forward.
Because Reggie Sutton's the other guy who, he was doing some injuries. He's another true freshman. I mean, he's not ready. Like, I don't, their plan is, I think, to redshirt him. He's not going to break it. Like, if Cole is struggling, you're not going to put Reggie Sutton in the game. But O'Neal, I do wonder if he has gotten to the point where they would say, okay, it's about midseason. Let's try to change this up if Cole isn't 100% and see if we can get something better out of this guy.
You do have to admire the fact that they're, even with that, they're still taking shots downfield, which is something the Giants don't do. From tying in my weekend of football, I mean, they were close. If one of those big plays, they trying to hit Melton a couple times, Jones. If one of those big plays goes the other way, maybe it's a different game. I mean, that's at least an encouraging sign that they're trying to throw.
And the one play, where Sikowski overthrows Melton, and Melton was had a few steps on his defensive back. You see the end of the play, but Sikowski got hammered on that play. And as John McNulty
yeah.
said today, if he has a chance to maybe step into that throw and maybe target it a little bit, maybe he completes that ball. So, I think fans, and us to a lesser extent, we see the Sikowski overthrowing Melton on that play. That stemmed from a lack of protection. I mean, maybe it can hit one or two of those passes if they have better protection up front.
Right.
I think too, like that sort of play is, the glimpse into the future and like what is possible. Because if Sikowski connects on that, you're right, Steve. Like there may have, like if he connects on one or two of those balls, it might change the game. They might win. And then we go farther when they're playing teams, when they're punching up, when they're playing heavily favored teams. I mean, imagine what could have happened if Sikowski was able to hit a ball like that against Ohio State early on.
Right.
It doesn't change the game.
10 instead of 52
yes,
to 3.
But my point is, it's sort of the great equalizer. Like Rutgers can do that. They haven't been able to do that in a long time. When they start to be able to do that with any consistency, that changes things for defenses. That makes another thing that opposing teams have to worry about. It's sort of, you're making steps towards being a more well-rounded competitive team if you keep taking those shots. Because eventually they're probably going to connect. They're pretty close, it seems, and who knows what can happen down the road.
Was this enough to change the narrative for Chris Ash? I'm not sure it was, although I do like the fact, and people comment on the fact he was much more fired up on the sideline. Anybody who was, talking about the sleepy coach and the sleepy team and the fact that the intensity or the lack of intensity seemed to match his lack of intensity. I don't know if he heard that criticism from people, but clearly there was a different demeanor on the sideline. He was very animated, very fired up. I just don't know that, playing Indiana close does anything to appease the fan base or to settle people down who are kind of up in arms. Do you think it might?
I'll say this. I mean, I gave him every opportunity, and he talked about he wasn't slamming his fist on the podium after the game, but I gave him every opportunity to claim it was a moral victory, but he did not go there. And then today, I thought it was pretty refreshing and really saying that. They need to stop this streak. They've lost 4 in a row. He said that we're disappointed in it. And he went, his opening statement really was pretty telling because he's not satisfied. It's not just the way you see him on game day on Saturday. He is not comfortable with being 1-4 right now.
Wow. All right. You ready for some? So you got some cracks? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it can change the narrative in this way. If they beat Illinois on Saturday, I think that it does change the narrative. If they lose to Illinois on Saturday or they regress and they're not competitive against Illinois, I think they're right back to square one. And it's probably honestly worse because Illinois is sort of got that kind of vibe like Kansas does. This is not a good program.
Right. All right, let's go to true or false. As you know how this works, we'll get right into the questions. And you know what the first question is going to be? True or false, Chris Ash will get fired if Rutgers goes 1-11. True or false, guys? Has your opinion changed on this?
Nope, false.
False.
False? False? All right, numbered. We'll get back to that one because we've got some more information on this. True or false, if Rutgers can consistently play like it did in the second half against Indiana, it can win more than one game the rest of the way. True or false?
True.
All right. True or false, Patrick Hobbs, the athletic director, said just enough in his statement to the media, which, of course, by media, I mean Keith Sargent. True or false?
I'll say true, and I just don't know what else he could really say, 5 games into the year.
All
yeah,
right.
True. I think true.
Okay. True or false, the decommits are starting and an avalanche is coming. True or false?
False.
False. Okay, Sarge.
I don't know what you define avalanche. There's going to be multiple ones. I would say
5.
Yeah,
over under 5.
I could see 5.
Okay. True or false? Bo Melton and Shameen Jones are going to become big contributors finally after a good performance. True or false?
True.
True
or false? Illinois crowd more than 20,000. True or false?
False.
False. Again, forget it. True or false? Nothing can stop Ohio State now from the 4-team playoff.
False.
Michigan will give them a game.
Yeah, okay. And finally, true or false, I'm still a little buzzed from Brewfest. True or false?
True. I can't believe you actually made it. We're actually taping at 1:30 on Monday. I thought the hangover would still be going.
I mean, it's not from Brewfest, guys. I have a cocktail as soon as I wake up in the morning. Let's be honest. All right. Going back to the question, and this is, I mean, we should talk a little bit about, a lot of fans have been said, where's Hobbs? Where's Hobbs? I mean, they're waiting for, I don't know what the guy was going to say, waiting for something from Pat Hobbs. We had it. We got him after the game. Sarge, give us a sense.
Wait, you said we?
By we, I meant I stood with Cratch in a general area of where you were in relation to the athletic director when you asked these questions. I think that's as part of the team here. I think that I was involved.
I mean, did you have my back if there was any fish?
Yeah, of course not. I was going to duck immediately down the hallway. Take us through your conversation with Pat Hobbs and what your sense is.
Look, there's some stuff that is probably better left unsaid. I will say this: in no way did he want to answer a question. He's made it clear that he does not want to make any evaluations. He's been consistent with that since he started, not just with football, but every program that he evaluates at the end of the year. You have to respect that. That being said, you're right. Fans are looking for some leadership. His predecessor, Julie Herman, went a full year hiding from the media and not answering questions. So there's probably a balance of that, and I think what he said was appropriate. In a lot of ways, I'm not trying to make my job to be more than it is, but I think in some ways we do ask questions. Our job is to gauge the pulse of the fan, and I get emails about it. We see it on Twitter. We see it on message boards that the fans want answers from Pat Hobbs. He was the one who hired Chris Ash, and so I was the one who approached him after the press conference. He wasn't thrilled about it, to put it mildly. Didn't want to answer it, and then after a few minutes of he reconsidered, and he said what the quote was, "I love our kids, I love our coaches, I love our fight, our work ethic." And he said that I had an opportunity to win a victory today, but made some mistakes. We'll learn from it. And we have an opportunity next week against another quality Big Ten opponent. It's an opportunity to show our progress. It's not exactly the most enlightening quote, but at least he recognizes that there's some he's not naive to the criticism that the football program has received so far.
Yeah, he did not paint himself into a corner. There was none of this. He's my guy. He's got 5 years. None of that, which is smart, because you don't know what's going to happen here these next 7 games if the wheels completely come off, and if we answer that true or false question differently. Right. But I don't think it doesn't satisfy anybody. I guess what I'm trying to get to, the people who want to hear something from Hobbs today, I still want to hear something from Hobbs.
People want to hear from him, though. I mean,
right. Well, they want to hear Chris Ash is in trouble, I think, but they're not going to hear that.
I mean, I will say this. I think that Pat isn't he's a difficult spot because, being an athletic director, reaching out, the interaction, the engagement with your customers, basically your fan base, everything. But then there's the downside to it. And I think he said something. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, but at least he acknowledged that he hears the complaints and the gripes and the concerns of the Rutgers fan base. And now they've got basically half a season left to kind of take stock after that. But I understand why fans want to hear from him, and I understand why he doesn't necessarily want to say a whole heck of a lot. But I do think it was smart for him to say something, because you do not want to create the perception that he's holed up in his office while the town burns out in front of him.
Right. All right. On the decommits, I mean, I think this is an issue because of what happened with Kyle Flood that year, and it just started with one, right? I forget who the first kid to decommit that year was, and by the, by signing day, it was, how many was it? 11, 12? It was just a complete disaster. And I think, for the people who are watching it closely knew it was going to be a disaster. And people like me who don't follow recruiting closely were like, well, it's a couple of players. And before you know it, it's the entire class. I mean, They lost one guy. I mean, it was a Hayek of all people. I'm a little surprised by that. Someone who has good family in the program. What do you make of it? And obviously we could have Todrick on to talk in great detail, but are you think this is going to be a thing?
I'll say this. Okay, it's been a thing for a while, decommitments, and even when the program's going well, you're going to expect a couple. So far, their recruiting class isn't great, and I'll be totally honest. I'm not going to, it's just, if you look at the offer list on a lot of these kids, they don't have a whole lot of options. So some of the kids, that might actually have some more options, maybe they could reconsider. 1-11 will be difficult to stomach for anyone. So if you get to 1-8, 1-9, and then all of a sudden you start losing the games against, the best teams in the Big Ten with hardly any Rutgers fans in the stadium, of course, kids are going to reevaluate. I think the bigger issue, and we'll talk about this, at some point later in the year, is in this day of age, man, you're going to see more and more transfers of players inside the program. And this isn't just a Rutgers thing. You saw it with Clemson. You've seen it with Auburn. Like cream of the crop programs of guys who are losing players who are concerned about their eligibility, that they know that they're, that they can keep a red shirt. That's going to be the bigger issue that people are going to have to monitor is, especially with a losing team, the current players inside the program, because as much as Chris Ash wants to talk about the future, that they have so many underclassmen playing right now, it's going to be about retention. And for Rutgers to make that next step, they're going to have to, keep the players that they want. And you're right. I mean, not decommitments always hurt, but I think, making sure that they don't have a whole lot of players, inside the program transfer is going to be a big issue too.
Well, that sounds pretty dark.
It's not. I mean, Clemson, Auburn lost 2 starters 2 weeks ago. Auburn is a number 12 team in the country.
Yes.
Rutgers
can't afford to lose any talent, but that's, of course, that's just the way of the world now. I get it. But how many players would Rutgers lose if the season goes? I mean, what do you think? What's the best guesstimate?
I mean, you start with the guys who aren't, have not lived up to their billing, who aren't playing, guys from, maybe even, the 2015 recruiting class, guys who have, another year or two of eligibility left, maybe guys from the 2016 recruiting class. That was mostly Kyle Flood's recruiting class, but also Chris Ash, was on campus for 2 months, I guess, when he closed the deal on it. So, you're looking at those guys. I mean, it's natural for guys who are buried on the depth chart, so can you stomach some of those? And, you, as much as you want to say, well, those guys weren't going to play anyway, it impacts you. Like Marcus Applefield last year started 9 games. And when he left, to grad transfer to Virginia, the feeling was, oh, well, they'll be fine. They'll move Jonah Jackson. No, depth, that's a factor. It's a factor when you, Chris Hogan, who never started a game at defensive end, grad transfers to Temple. He could have helped at the defensive line right now. Now you have Mike Tverdoff playing out of position. He's a redshirt freshman who's doing really well. But if Hogan's still here, Hogan is probably starting right now. So all of it's a factor. No matter what, even if a kid is buried on the depth chart, the best programs, and Chris Ash has told me this, many times, the programs that he wants to model himself are after Michigan State, Wisconsin, those programs, Iowa as well, those programs retain their players. Retention is a big thing. They don't lose a whole lot of players on a year-to-year basis to transfer.
And on the subject of decommitments, I think what Sarge said is right, and it's sort of like a good thing for Rutgers right now and a bad thing. I just very briefly went through their commitment page, looked at each player. The offer list, there's a couple of guys who maybe have like an offer from Boston College or an offer from Maryland. But other than that, these guys don't really have a lot of tremendous, Power 5 options, which I guess is a good thing in the sense that, okay, well, yes, one of those guys might get a chance to go elsewhere. And I think with Hayek, Todrick would know better than I am, but I think he's a guy who's done really well on the circuit and could potentially be working his way into other Power 5 offers pretty soon as teams start to dole out their kind of, mid-fall offers. But it's good in one sense. It's comforting that, okay, if this guy decommits from Rutgers, it's going to go to Buffalo or UConn. I mean, Rutgers should sit there and think, okay, like we are we still, even if we're 1-11, we're still the best option for him. But at the same time, you're bringing players in. I think Dunleavy always said this, like he looks at the offers, who offered him. You're bringing guys in who don't have a lot of top-notch offers. And then I think it's the point of, all right, we get the development thing, but this team has got to win at some point. 4, 5, 6 year rebuild. I mean, that's not the case. So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword for Rutgers in that if they're going to have guys leaving the program and decommits, you can do the grad transfer route, you can do the junior college route, but I think how many times in history has a coach, as a struggling program, tried to do that fix with grad transfers and junior college guys? It usually never works out.
Yeah, right, and I've heard that was a popular refrain from some people about, well, maybe they go the junior college route, and I can tell you right now that I can name 5 guys, 10 guys over the last decade of junior college guys who have not worked out and have not only not really worked out, but they've actually been bad for chemistry, bad in the locker room.
I was
apparently that doesn't work. Grad transfers is a different story, but even then, I mean, it's hit and miss. I mean, Kyle Bolin, Zach Allen, and these are quarterbacks. Andrew Terzilli worked out, but so maybe you can get a wide receiver on the grad transfer market. You can get a running back like a Hilliman or Gus Edwards, but for the most part, it's tough. The grad transfer market is so competitive, and getting guys who you could just immediately slide in as a starter, it doesn't happen all the time.
I mean, I also think, and I don't think Rutgers are going to do this, but the reason why Kansas football was devastated was because Charlie Weiss showed up and said, "I'm going to fix this by snapping my fingers and bringing in a ton of junior college guys," and it was a complete disaster. And they had lost scholarships, and basically the whole program rotted from within. You can't duplicate that here. I mean, the last thing you want to do is make a less than desirable situation worse by making risky moves to try to quick fix it. So I think Sarge is right. You can't go that route. You just have to stick to the plan, and you've got to sell. I mean, look, they've got to sell this vision for Rutgers, no matter what the record is. That things haven't changed. It remains to be seen.
And I'll say this, I know he hates the comparison. He doesn't like it. He thinks it's apples and oranges because what Graciano dealt with in his rebuild was different from the Big Ten. I get that. But with Graciano, after 3 years, he made that leap in year 4 and 5 where he started getting, if he didn't get the top kids in Jersey, he started getting like the second tier guys. It's going to be on Chris Ash to recruit. I mean, that's all there is to it. And it's going to be a tough sell, but it's on him. Just as it's him, on him, for a large part on those 3 hours on game day, it's on him on the recruiting trail. So, 1-11, 2-10, regardless what happens at the rest of the way, there's going to be a pivotal few months for him to be able to recruit.
Yeah, well, Greg Schiano probably looks around those facilities and said, gee, I wish I had those when I was trying to build the program. But anyway, all right, let's move on. Illinois coming to town, the Super Bowl. This is it, the game. They have to win this game or I'm going to jump off the top of the press box. No promises. I'm kidding. All right.
There's no Brewfest this weekend either, so I mean, we're really screwed.
Brewfest. God, I'm going to have to bring a flask of it's going to be rough. All right, so Illinois preview. What can you tell me about the Illini? Are they any better than they were last year when Rutgers went there and won? What, Kratch, you got something for me?
That's a great question. I don't think we really know yet. They're 2-2. They've lost 2 straight. They beat up, I think, Kent State. Well, first, they beat Kent State and I think Western Illinois, which is FCS. I think Kent State was up 17-0 on them at one point. They lost. They had a double-digit lead against South Florida and blew it. And obviously they played pretty tough with Penn State for a little while. Then they got blown out. They're coming off a bye week. 2 things that stand out to me about Illinois. 1, they haven't played a road game yet. 3 games in Champaign, 1 game against UCF in Soldier Field. This team is very young, and it hasn't been on the road yet this season. 2, they cannot run the ball. They cannot throw the ball. They're one of the Big Ten's best rushing offenses in terms of yards per game. They really try to run the ball, and they cannot stop the run. They're the worst defense in the Big Ten basically on all categories. And if they're not last, Rutgers is probably last. So this could be a game that becomes a track meet. It could be ugly. But I do think if you're Rutgers on offense, you look at this Illinois defense and you say we should be able to build off of our better showing against Indiana because they have a lot of issues on that side of the ball.
My observation is their coach, Lovie Smith, has an awesome beard. His beard is really...
That is you don't like it? Sure about the beard, though.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's distinguished. I think, I like it. I'm jealous of it. But yeah, they are coming. Keep in mind also, they are coming off a bye. So they're going to be well rested. And but Kratch is right. The idea that they haven't hit the road, I think that's a test, especially for a young team.
All right, prediction.
Whew.
Dun, 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 dun. This is an opportunity to pit.
I'll go first. I'm going to go Rutgers. They beat them.
Wow.
A year ago.
Homer said what? Excuse me. I had a little Homer stuck in my throat. What?
Coming away after reading Kratch's film review, which it gets better every week. If you haven't read it.
It took us 32 minutes to get a film review.
The thing is gold. But the takeaway I got from it is if they play the way they did in the second half, and that they're going to win some games, and I think, or maybe a game, and I think this is the type of game where you're at home, you beat Illinois a year ago. I think they're going to win this game. I think, they're going to have to keep it, low scoring. I would think it's going to be in 2017 range.
All right, Kratch.
I am also going to pick the Scarlet Knights.
Oh. Wow.
I am going to say Rutgers wins 25-24. I think Illinois is just going into the year. We thought Rutgers was better than Illinois. I think if they continue to play the way they did against Indiana on offense, they should be okay. The defense does worry me because this soft zone coverage. I understand why they're using it, but they just got sliced and diced by Peyton Ramsey, who's an okay quarterback for Indiana. The good thing for them is Illinois doesn't throw the ball very well, but at the same time, I also think that soft zone is not going to do well against the run if they can kind of get their RPO going and get guys out in space. So I think there's a potential this becomes like a 45-42 game where just no one plays any defense, but I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'll say 25-24. Rutgers ekes one out, and they go to Maryland with a little bit of momentum, a little bit of juice.
I thought I was the one at Brewfest because both of you are drunk. I'm going to take the Illini. Sorry, but the way this TI just, it's going to be, I don't think they can stop anybody. I think, Indiana stopped themselves last game. The first half defense, I just don't see. And I get it that maybe Illinois can't pass, but you'd be surprised how teams seem to find open receivers against Rutgers, even teams that can't throw. So I'm going to go 34-21 Illinois victory.
Wow.
All right. So, wow. You like that. I don't think we're popular. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to, so we've done in the past, we've done mean tweets and mean, email. I actually have a hilarious, maybe sort of mean snail mail letter I received. Can I tell you about this, guys, to end the podcast? So I get home from the Illinois game. There's a package on my dining room table. And I opened the package and it did not explode. So the package is from a booster that I know of, a guy, and I'm not going to name him, but it's a guy who has a lot of tickets, who has been a supporter for many, many years. So, and in the envelope, there are tickets to the Indiana game, a Scarlet Lot parking pass, and a sweatshirt. So let me read you the letter. Dear Steve, enclosed you will find 4 tickets and a red lot parking pass. Please try to find some people to occupy these seats so the stadium is not completely empty. As you know, I have given my seats away for 24 years, but this year has been the hardest. I worked with a probation officer in Newark, and he gave 4 gang members a choice: sit through the entire game or spend 6 months in a juvenile detention center, and they chose the center. Number 2, enclosed you will find number 2, $40. He sent me two $20 bills. $40. It is doubtful that you will find anyone to take these good seats and parking pass unless you pay them $10 a seat to take them. Please offer them the cash, which I have put into one of those collection things at a bagel shop. So don't worry, I did not pocket the money. Number 3, it is still doubtful that you will find someone to go to the game. So in that case, use the money to buy yourself a bottle of booze to help you forget. Perhaps you can give the tickets away to the members of your family or friends. Of course, I didn't get them in time, so the tickets were useless. In the event that they would be too embarrassed to stay past the first quarter, one of them can wear the sweatshirt. And the sweatshirt, I can't make it up. It says BTW, like, by the way, BTW. And underneath that, I'm leaving early. So I thought that I'm going to bring the sweatshirt with me to the Rutgers game, the game. And if a fan sees me and mentions this podcast and that they'd stayed to this end of this podcast to hear this story, I will give you this sweatshirt as a free giveaway for listening this long to the podcast. That seems fair, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like it. So at least we know you people still have your sense of humor. All right. Anything else? What else you got?
I'm gonna say, like, we all went, to kind of gauge the pulse of the fan. Went to a couple tailgates on Saturday morning, and I thought it was really cool that we came out alive, because I really did think when we went over to see Adam Helfgott and Danny Breslauer, they're competing. I thought a knife fight was going to break out, like the scene in Anchorman where all of a sudden I look to my left and, like, Cratch has a hand grenade. Like, where'd you get a hand grenade, Cratch? Like, I really did think there was going to be, like, a knife fight, like a brawl with Adam and Danny, but cooler heads prevailed, I guess.
A lot of podcasts in the same tailgate at that point. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that was intense. Yeah,
it was.
And Brewfest. I mean, come on. That was people on Brewfest actually said they actually listen. I heard that like 4 or 5 times. I don't know if they're just making it up or if they actually do listen, but people said, hey, with those little cups, trying to drink as much beer as possible before, at 10 in the morning.
Did they have any beer in bottles, Steve?
No, it was all kegs.
It was all kegs. I wrote the thing about Brewfest, I knew they had the breweries, but I thought, like, when they mentioned they had, like, Blue Moon and stuff, I thought that might be in bottles, which would have helped people get more beer, at the same time.
Right. No, you can only bring in those little cups. There's no bottles available, and people were in good spirits though. They were laughing. I think there's that cheer, and I've heard this a lot. And this is funny. I should have mentioned in the column I wrote about it, but people, while they're frustrated with the program, the ones who are still going are going because they just like being there. They like the atmosphere. They like seeing their friends. They like hanging out. They like their tailgates. So, maybe the crowd won't be as bad as we think.
I think, I will say this. I've heard, because you walk around and there's actually a lot of people in the parking lots. It feels like, okay, well, maybe this is a week where they actually have a pretty good crowd. I can't tell you, at least probably 5 or 6 people told me, and they're different circles, so not the same types of tailgates, but people who just would go to the game, go to the tailgate, but wouldn't actually go into the stadium to watch the game. And it'll be interesting. Like, I mean, how many people actually do that? Actually, go just to tailgate. I mean, it's an interesting thing. I mean, it's fun. Maybe that's what I would do. Maybe that's what I'll do this week rather than actually cover the game. Maybe I'll just tailgate.
Are you telling me there's an option? You don't have to go in? Are you telling me there's an option? I didn't know there was a choice.
It would be interesting if Rutgers could somehow kind of capitalize off that, in the sense that sell some sort of ticket where it's like you can't go in the first half, but, like, you reserve the right to enter if it's close at halftime.
Ooh.
The $5, what would it be? Like $5 if it's a one possession, $7 ticket if it's a 7-point game.
Something like that. Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, one of the things I thought when I was in the stands was, like, I understand that, like, people might be up high and that they want the vantage point and everything, but, like, you gotta send someone like, hey guys, like, you dad and two son and a daughter up in the upper deck, come on down. Like, come sit here. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, God bless you. You've come. We love you. Here's a sweatshirt. Here's a soft pretzel. Come sit here.
Here's the headset. Here's the play call.
You want a quarterback?
Stand right here. Here's the press conference afterward. Just try it. I like it.
Like, no, I want to stay here so I can see the game. That's fine. But, like, bring everybody down. Just come on down, guys.
All right, that's what we'll do. Maybe we leave the press box and do that one week. All right, let's sign off. We've been at this long enough. Steve Politi, James Cratch, Keith Sargent. Thanks for listening. We'll be back to recap the Illinois game next week.